Good evening, everybody. We are the Northsiders, and we will be presenting a marketing plan for Bud Light. We chose this product because Bud Light has faced significant sales and market share challenges in recent years, and we perceive an opportunity to reverse that trend. We've identified three key marketing objectives. We would like to increase market share from 17.6% to 19%. We would like to increase sales volume by 10%. And we would like to position Bud Light as a beer of choice with consumers between 21 and 35 years old. We would like to accomplish all three objectives within the next 18 months.
Anheuser-Busch became a family enterprise in 1861 with Eberhard Anheuser and his son-in-law Adolphus Busch working together. Thanks to technological advances, in the 1870s, Budweiser became the first beer available nationwide, and the Anheuser-Busch brewery broke the 1 million barrel mark for the first time in 1901. They introduced metal cans in 1936 after Prohibition and broke the 2 million barrel mark in 1938. By 1951, the company had 9 nationwide brewery locations. Production increased to over 34 million barrels per year, and Anheuser-Busch has been the leading U.S. brewer since 1957. In 1982, they introduced Bud Light, which immediately became one of the world's best-selling beer brands. And in 2008, had a takeover merger with InBev, becoming Anheuser-Busch InBev, one of the top 5 consumer goods companies in the world and the world's largest brewer, with over 150 varieties of beer and alcoholic beverages produced at 12 breweries under 55 different brand names. ABI is now the largest American brewer, containing 45% of the American beer market. The industry employs over 1.75 million Americans, including brewers, importers, distributors, and the retail chain. The industry creates $79 billion in wages and benefits and produces $49 billion in tax revenue, regulated by the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau, which is the third highest revenue generating agency for the federal government, behind the IRS and customs agencies. Taxes combined among federal, state, and local make up over 40% of a beer's purchase price, which is more than any of the ingredients. So currently, brewers are working towards tax reform by reducing federal excise taxes on small brewers and distinguishing separate tax structures between beer and hard alcohol. Prohibition and the criminalization of alcohol led to massive social and political upheaval and an overhaul in the criminal justice system, as well as demonstrating the need for monitoring and regulation of the alcohol industry. Since relegalization after Prohibition, the beer industry has provided social lubricant and cultural glue for almost a century. Primary segments for the beer industry include domestic beers such as Budweiser, craft beers, for example, Goose Island or Stella, or light beers such as Bud Light. Other primary competitors in the light beer category include Miller Lite, Coors Light, and Natural Light, all of which have an emphasis on a low calorie content and a great taste.
The marketing mix for Bud Light, the original Bud Light Lager comes in a 12-ounce serving. It has 4.2% alcohol, 110 calories, 0 grams fat, 6.6 grams of carbs, and 0.9 grams of protein. It comes in many different varieties, which have different alcohol content and different flavors. The weakness of this brand is there are numerous substitutes. The strength is that there is a wide array of different products, flavors, and alcohol content amounts that you can choose from. Bud Light is brewed in 12 different locations around the United States. Bud Light is available for sale to consumers in grocery stores, liquor stores, convenience stores, most restaurants, and popular sporting events like football games, basketball games, baseball games, and races. The Bud Light uses a competitive pricing strategy. The promotion of Bud Light is their strongest part of their marketing mix. Their logos and advertisements can be seen in sports stadiums, car racing events, concerts, and on sports players' uniforms. Special bottles are created for large events like NASCAR and the Super Bowl, and they are also very well known for their commercials. Bud Light is marketed to consumers as being the perfect drink to watch sporting events with, to bring friends together, and to help to create a fun party. It is marketed as the drink that will turn any occasion into an enjoyable experience. Bud Light has sponsorships with the NFL that will continue in until 2022.
Bud Light controls 17.62% market share in the U.S. beer category, which is more than double the next closest competitor, Coors Light, at 7.12%. However, recent downward trends and a declining market share has the marketing team scrambling for new ways to reposition its brand and reverse its negative sales trend. Through the first 3 quarters of 2016, Bud Light sales had fallen by approximately 5%, which resulted in a 1% reduction in market share. Unfortunately for Bud Light, this is not a short-term trend, as sales of their core product have been declining for several years now. These concerning trends are attributed to a growing number of problems, including out-of-touch advertising campaigns, brand dilution, and their inability to meet changing consumer taste. Bud Light has drawn numerous harsh criticisms from its various ad campaigns over the past few years. Their previous Up for Whatever campaign was intended to elicit spontaneous and carefree feelings associated with having a fun night out with friends by enjoying Bud Light. During the campaign, Bud Light placed a controversial slogan on its bottles. The quote on the bottle read, "The perfect beer for removing no from your vocabulary for the night." Many people perceive this label as promoting a rape culture, resulting in a fierce backlash against the Bud Light brand. The company's latest campaign was a politically themed Bud Light party campaign featuring celebrities Amy Schumer and Seth Rogen. The goal of the campaign was to inject fun and comedy into hot-button socially progressive issues like gay marriage, equal pay for women, and transgender rights during the most recent election. However, these ads came off as unfunny, polarizing, and divisive. Sales of Bud Light continued to decline through the first half of last year, and thus the Bud Light party campaign was pulled well before the election took place. The recent failed marketing campaigns provide proof that the company has been unsuccessful in connecting with consumers. Bud Light's attempt at lighthearted comedy and failure to consider potential negative reactions to its campaign has resulted in a further decline of sales and elicited a negative brand perception. Another concern problem for Bud Light is brand dilution. So what is Bud Light? Is it some variation of beer? Is it a chelada, a margarita, or a cocktail? In an effort to reverse the negative sales trend, Bud Light has been working feverishly to introduce new product lines under the brand name. The various products were introduced to diversify its product line and appeal to a broad array of consumer tastes. Attaching the renowned Bud Light brand to these new product offerings certainly helps in the project launch stage, but at the same time it dilutes the brand and detracts from its core product. It also confuses customers as to what the brand stands for. Considering its diverse product offering, one might assume that the Bud Light brand is just some form of alcohol-based liquid. When consumers have confusion about the brand, it can make the purchase decision more difficult and will often result in lost sales. However, Bud Light's biggest concern is their inability to meet the changing consumer landscape, as well as their struggle to change the consumer perception of their product. The consumer landscape has changed drastically in the beer industry, as the millennial generation now makes up more than 25% of legal beer consumers. The millennial generation has also contributed to the rise in popularity of craft beer. In 2016, craft beer generated over $20 billion in sales, stealing away considerable market share from large brewers. A few key drivers for craft beer is the desire for authenticity and higher quality products. On the contrary, the Bud Light brand is viewed as overproduced and unoriginal. Additionally, the brand is perceived as being of inferior quality and can be difficult to distinguish from other mass-produced brands. While Bud Light has constantly been revamping its packaging to appear hip and fresh, a competitor, Miller Lite, recently introduced its throwback can, which resulted in an 18% jump in sales. Pabst Blue Ribbon, another longtime brewer, has also done well lately as their sales grew 17.2% last year. PBR's success is attributed to staying true to its brand and maintaining the authentic perception. It is imperative for Bud Light to fully understand the changing consumer preferences and focus its efforts on maintaining authenticity while also highlighting the attributes that make the product special and unique. The millennial generation represents a key demographic, therefore Bud Light must make a concerted effort to attract more millennial drinkers. I will now turn it over to our marketing team and let them discuss our marketing strategies to gain market share among millennials.
Extensive market research has led the marketing team to determine that millennial consumers present a prime opportunity to meet our marketing objectives. Millennials spend over $200 billion annually, and there are currently more millennials in their 20s than consumers in their 30s, 40s, or 50s. Millennials are known to be highly tech savvy. They spend more time on mobile devices than traditional media. And also, we believe that targeting millennials will reach secondary target markets because millennials have changed the way that all consumers pursue products and perceive products due to the millennial mindset. Bud Light's opportunity among millennials is pretty large. Bud Light has lost market share recently to light craft beers, and 44% of Americans between 21 and 28 have never tried a Budweiser. The millennial demographic represents a substantial opportunity to increase sales volume and market share. Our 3 marketing objectives within the next 18 months to increase market share to 19%, increase sales volume by 10%, and position Bud Light as the beer of choice with millennial consumers. In order to accomplish our marketing objectives, our brand must increase brand awareness, brand consideration, and willingness to buy among millennials. Marketing should be interactive and experience-based to create buzz and word of mouth, and we must position Bud Light among millennials as an authentic brand. Marketing research suggests that millennials strongly prefer authenticity in advertising messages. Our marketing campaign will utilize standardization to promote a homogeneous message and appeal to the target segments across geographic boundaries. Our campaign will be focused on authenticity in order to allow consumers to draw links between our brand and traditional practices. We intend to position our brand as an experience where consumers are actively involved. In order to pursue our goal of increasing market share, we intend to employ penetration pricing. We believe that increasing market share and sales volume will increase and allow for greater economies of scale and improve our rate of return on investment. We believe that a skimming price strategy would be ineffective because light craft beers hold these higher price points, and a skimming strategy would also cannibalize other brands within our product lines, such as Michelob Light and Michelob Ultra.
So let's begin the distribution channels of Bud Light and how we can start realizing the 3 objectives laid out. With some exceptions, all beer, wine, and spirits sold in the United States uses a 3-tier system. By 3-tier, we mean it must be sold by the supplier, either a brewery or winery or an importer of alcohol, to a wholesaler or distributor, who then sells to a retailer like a bar or restaurant, and then who then sells them to customers like you and I. Bud Light uses approximately 500 intermediaries for indirect distribution. After its $107 billion merger with SAB Miller in 2015, Bud Light decided to push out a 3-year incentive program to combat declining sales for AB InBev. With that 3-year incentive program, it would produce as much as $1.5 million in reimbursements to independent distributors if 98% of the independent distributors' beer sold came from AB InBev. If the 98% target was met, as much as half of the distributors' marketing, promotions, and display costs will be covered by AB InBev. This incentive program also targets one of its most fierce recent competitor, which is craft beer. To ensure that more distributors choose to push Bud Light as much as other AB InBev brands, we suggest an additional incentive for retailers to carry and promote more Bud Light by allowing an additional 5% marketing expense covered by AB InBev if sales of Bud Light reach a specific dollar value. And again, the value will be evaluated based on quarterly sales for similarly grouped retailers based on its size or geographic region to ensure the incentive is actually attainable for each and every individual retailer. The 2 incentives mentioned would then be a key tool to achieve our objectives 1 and 2 of increasing market share by 19% and increasing total sales volume by 10% within 18 months, respectively. For our communication objective and positioning, Bud Light is perceived as a lower quality yet more expensive on the customer perceptual map. It is aggressive with new products such as its Bud Light Lime, Platinum, and Lime-A-Rita. This new line causes consumers to perceive Bud Light as trying to move towards a fancier beer or mixed drink, losing its authenticity. Bud Light then is trying to rebuild emotional connection through appealing to the younger generation by focusing on showing how Bud Light brightens up any party but can also be the key to relaxation and building friendship bonds. It is diverging away from the traditional ADA model to focus more on consumer engagement to create a longer-lasting impression versus having ads showing the history of a company. Moving on to our promotion mix and budget. In 2017, Bud Light promoted its Super Bowl tickets for live sweepstakes that randomly placed 37,000 special golden tickets in 51 cans in certain packs that allows customers to be in the running to win Super Bowl tickets each year for the rest of their life or up to 51 years of game. This promotion campaign not only promotes sales but also further solidifies Bud Light's relationship with America's favorite sports. When the price is not a factor, looking at our slides, Bud Light is priced at $23.92 versus Coors Light and Miller Lite's $22.47. When price is not a factor, consumers would use its memories to see what is more appealing to them based on advertising and public relations. Since Bud Light is prevalent in sports and music, customers will have a strong recollection of Bud Light to be in an ad at their favorite event, which will then bring out the sense of familiarity and comfort, hence picking Bud Light over competition. Our team would recommend an 18% marketing budget of total revenues, along with our objectives to increase total sales by 10%. Bud Light spent nearly $308 million of unmeasured ad in 2014, with $84.3 million being on TV spots. In 2017, they spent $10 million on the Super Bowl ad. In 2015 to 2016, revenues increased by 4%, while marketing budget increased by 1%. If our objective of sales increase by 10% is realized, it will bring revenues for 2017 to be $50.5 billion, which allows us a marketing budget of $9 billion, which is also an approximate 1% increase in marketing budget-wise from 2016 to 2017. Of that $9 billion, we would suggest $11 million for the 2018 Super Bowl ad, allocating a little bit extra for price increase. $200 million will be allocated for TV ads, and $1 billion will be for market research and development. $20 million will be for distribution incentives as mentioned above, and the rest of the money would be suggested for a spokesperson endorsement, an event race sponsorship like the NASCAR, or buy out a music center. We can also sponsor athletes or teams such as Dale Earnhardt, as Miller Lite has done for Brad Keselowski.
Excellent. And that takes us to our creative concept and brand mantra. So we've established our marketing team's suggestions to achieve those three objectives, and here's what the consumer would see. Bud Light's current creative concept, which was launched earlier in 2017, is entitled Famous Among Friends. And we want to augment that by saying, famous among friends, take them anywhere. This will help achieve group objective number 3, positioning Bud Light as a beer of choice among 21 and 35-year-olds because it's available everywhere. The accessibility helps that friendship, so to speak, of being anywhere at any time. As far as brand mantra goes, David Schumann wrote an article about a brand positioning statement or mantra that has 4 key characteristics to make it successful, as you see on the screen. And we believe that the brand mantra of the authentic, always here for you beer would achieve all 4 of those things. Orient the target market as a young friendship sort of product, identifying a point of differentiation as its accessibility across the nation and across the world, as opposed to craft beers, which are in select markets. Also providing a frame of reference that it is a big beer and providing a reason to believe, meaning its authenticity. It's been around for several decades and it's something that you can trust as far as a product for beer goes. The media mix, as denoted earlier in our pricing strategy, would mainly include TV advertising. We'll also include billboards and online marketing for sponsored events, mainly sporting events. So billboard ad samples would include that mantra, the authentic, always here for you beer. Some of our TV ads appear here. One of them is called Hank the Hipster, and it includes a regular traveler who takes on a hipster who wants to trek across the country. And as the regular traveler can find his favorite beer anywhere, the hipster struggles to find his particular tastes. And another TV ad is more of an emotional chord with Always Here For You. And it features a male story and a female story of moving away or going away for a long trip. and how those two individuals feel lonely in their trip, but the friendships that were bonded over Bud Light helped bring back that memory of good times there. So that concludes our assessment of the history, weaknesses, strengths, and potential for Bud Light as a product subset of Budweiser, and how it can achieve those three marketing objectives of reattaining market share up to 19%, increasing sales by 10%, as well as repositioning it as a beer of choice among millennials ages 21 to 35. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will be online to help answer any questions about our presentation.